Welcome back to Never Ending Adventure Podcast. I'm your host, Diggity DJ Nettie P, and I'm here with
Russell T. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? That's great. I love to hear it.
Are you not leaning into DJ Russ T?
I will refuse to lean into that as long as I live, or as long as we do this podcast. I'm Russell Tyndall. You can find me on Instagram at, I don't know, probably Russell Tyndall.
I think it is. I think it is just at Russell Tyndall, like one word.
There might be an underscore. Who cares? But
for those of you who don't know out there, Russell does hate. We learned very early on in our friendship that he hates the name Rusty.
It reminds me of corrosion. It's gross. Unless you are named Rusty, then I'm totally cool with it. I get it. Why would you not? Rusty's a great name, but not for me.
I feel like, I don't know. Rusty, is that always a nickname for Russell, or is it just, some people actually named Rusty?
What about the NASCAR driver? Was he Rusty Wallace, I want to say? Was he named Rusty? Probably not.
Yeah, probably
Anyways,
not.
I don't think it matters.
As a NASCAR driver, you'd think it'd be like all of them have some sort of like funny nickname, I bet,
Well, welcome to the Adventure Time podcast. This is certainly, this week we're going to be talking about Ghost Princess, which is season 3, episode 24. A pretty good, dang good episode, if you ask me.
Yeah, it kind of picks up some energy from the last 2 weeks. I know we weren't really a huge fan of Another Way. It just missed some sort of marker with like Adventure Timeism, I guess. And this one, I feel like kind of brings it back. We're building the world. We're building the canon. Finn and Jake seem like in their element, which is good,
They do. This is a fun episode of just an adventure with Ghost Princess, finding out about Ghost Princess, and how she can kind of find salvation in a sense. Not really salvation, I suppose. That's not the right term, but pass on to the next phase of her afterlife, which is the 50th Dead World.
Yeah, I love that we reference, again, 50th Dead World.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I mean, it's weird because we kind of get some rules for certain ghosts. I don't know if you die, if everybody becomes a ghost, or if only certain people become ghosts for some reason or another. It's interesting to compare and contrast the different opinions. And of course, I'm new to the Adventure Time, but we've been past the phase where Jake, where was it? What episode was that? That was The New Frontier. We covered that on NEA number 74. When I die, my individual Earth consciousness is going to go all over everywhere while Glob tallies my deeds. But here we see it's until I discover the cause of my death. Like ghosts are stuck on the to haunt the mortal plane until they discover why they died. And then they can move on to essentially heaven, is what I imagine the 50th Dead World is, the last of the Dead Worlds.
There's in the HBO specials, Distant Lands, in the one, I'm not trying not to spoil these, but there's so many good references and kind of like loose ends tied up in that, that Finn and like in a series of events, Finn gets a glimpse into the 50th Dead World. And the really cool thing, the reference here that is canonical, and we'll actually go into some factoids about what's not canonical, is that when in that episode, when Finn goes and gets the glimpse of the 50th Dead World, that Clarence and Warrior Princess, aka Ghost Princess, are actually still there in like a meditative state.
Oh wow.
Which is really cool. I like that. I like that they really bring that one full circle.
When you're in the Dead Worlds, is the lower the number it is, the more like hell it becomes?
Yeah, I think they might actually switch it up.
Okay.
When they actually do the Distant Land special. If I'm remembering correctly, like the 50th Dead World is the bad one. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm like, now
it can't be the bad one. Why would they be going to that one?
Yeah, and I know that you can do, there's a way to like move within the Dead Worlds based on your deeds. Within like each of the Dead Worlds and stuff like that. And I don't think all of them are necessarily supposed to be like hellish, even like the middle ones and stuff like that.
Interesting. Well, it certainly seems like a works-based system.
Yeah, it's definitely from Jake's analysis of it. But there's a lot more of kind of like there's not one answer to anything, because like now we see that there is ghosts. We do know about the dead worlds. We'll learn more about reincarnation. So they kind of just take a lot of this afterlife premises, and they say that all rules kind of work in Adventure Time.
Interesting. So Jake's not technically wrong when he's talking about Glob tallying his deeds, and also Ghost Princess is not like breaking any rules of Adventure Time by having to discover how she died in order to move on to the 50th Dead World.
Yeah, I think they kind of open up so many doors with that world that everything can still stay canonical without being like contradictive.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that'll be interesting to dive deeper into. And maybe next time we come across Death, we'll have a little bit more researched out Dead World system.
Yes, we do have some more Death episodes coming for sure, where we're back in what was it? That wasn't a Dead World. I guess all of the little skeleton bones outside of Death's castle was not technically the Dead World.
Oh no!
I think it was more of like a interestingly like purgatory type thing.
Yeah. Well, I can't do any research on this, Ned. Maybe next time, do some research on that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's hard to have like. I know that this is what our fans even want us to have like deeper conversations.
Yeah.
And they're like, what about season 7 when this happens? I was like, I can't really do too much like jumping around.
No, but maybe dive into an explanation of kind of how the Dead World's things. I'm just curious to know. I don't think it'll spoil anything for me who's never seen the show before.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll do a full spoiler how the Dead Worlds work on our next like Death episode.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. Well, sweet. Well, regardless, Ned, hopefully neither one of us have died from or will die. Have you had a croak dream yet? I haven't yet.
No croak dreams for me. I did have deja vu today, which felt very croak dreamy.
Well, if you do, and it has soft cheese involved, then we'll know that maybe this episode influenced that a little bit. The softy cheese. How much softy cheesy for your DZ?
Softy cheesy for the DZ. Again, that was, I'd say, one of my favorite parts of this episode is, I don't know if they just realized it, but you know, every other Adventure Time episode, we've had like funny little like Finnisms, like mathematical and the classic ones. This one just like fully leans into that skid. I got a list of my favorites from this episode in no specific order. It's moited, donkus, dingus, dungus, soft cheesy for your DZ, ghosty peas, myrtler, ne'er-dwellers, the biz is going to get redonk, sweetles, and some donkus skabopped ghost princess.
Yeah, which is actually, that might be my tops, honestly. Some donkus skabopped. Yeah, that is so good. It's either that or it's Boilby, which is the ghost to Ghost Princess, saying, he's like talking about like, I see you around here like haunting everybody. What is it, hunting at all hours? Because you can't deal with your issues.
Because you can't deal with the issues.
That made me laugh, man. Every time I watched this episode back for this podcast, I was just like that. It always caught me off guard. That was great. I don't think Boilby's all too great, though he does say fool. And whenever I hear someone just randomly say like fool, or actually no, that was Finn saying, yo, wake up, fool, like trying to get him up.
You think about Mr. T?
No, I was thinking of Weird Al's Amish Paradise, where he's like, I never wear buns, but I got a cool hat. All my homies agree I really look good in black, fool. Always, just as a kid, that just got me. So
that was it. That's, I'd say maybe behind the Teen Spirit video, the Amish Paradise video is a classic.
Oh yeah, the Teen Spirit one's good too. The marbles in his mouth. Yeah.
Too good. But I thought you were going to tell me that Boydleby or whatever his name is, Beetle Boy Boydleby, what reminded you of Mr. T.
No, thank goodness not. And yeah, in fact, it was Finn that said that. But I did look up. I was curious when we're talking about softy cheesy for your DZ. what DZ means on Urban Dictionary.
Oh, what is? Yeah, I got a couple of definitions in this episode too, which I'm excited to go into. So give me yours first, and I'll give you my definition.
Well, so Urban Dictionary first says it's a combination of dope and easy, DZ. But then, they use it later also to reference dying in the episode, which was interesting. But I scrolled further down, which you should probably never do on Urban Dictionary or just go on it at all.
The deep cuts.
And one of them was the act of taking a steamy dump after waking up in a park when drunk on your birthday. That's a DZ.
I love that. And that's called taking a DZ?
That's a DZ, yeah.
Oh, that's a DZ.
That's the worst. That is, I'm ashamed of myself.
Happens every year, that. Man. Wake up drunk in the park. I'm ashamed of myself. Well, my fun definition, because it caught me on my second watch through on this episode, the ne'er-dwellers come rolling over the hill, and they're like, "What are you fops doing with our grave?" And I was like, that sounds oddly derogatory. Mm-hmm. So I looked up fop, or fops, plural, because I was like, is that a reference to the Brother Where Art Thou, when the hair gel is called fop? Mm-hmm. And I was like, is that the same thing? And yeah, it's actually a 17th, 18th century term for like a man. Actually, I have the true definition right here. Where are my factoids? It is, give me a second.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't find the exact definition, but it's basically kind of, a man who is devoted to or vain about his appearance or dress. So I think it's kind of a different F word than today's F word, but kind of basically saying he's a dandy, he's a sissy man, something like that,
Well, Clarence saves them in the greatest fashion there, where one of the ne'er-do-well ghosts is just like, that one time when I did that thing by accident and you were cool about it.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm good.
I love that, though, because it speaks to Clarence's character in the ghost world. Because at the beginning of this episode, you think it might be leaning on that side of like, oh, he's going to be that like charming guy that just says all the right things and he's going to turn evil,
Yeah, he comes off, I was thinking the same thing, is he's like too good, like a real like finishes each other's sandwiches type. Prince Hans from Frozen. I was certain that he was going to go that way because he's so dang smooth the whole time, like the first one of the first things he says when they're introducing him with Ghost Princess on like not his grave, it's just sitting on someone's grave. And he's like, some of us still want to feel, the vital magnetism of life, the vibrating energies that connect all living things and non-living beings. Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of deep. Yeah, I guess he's had plenty of time to think about, the cosmos and deep thoughts while he's been dead, maybe. But
I don't know.
It does open up a deeper thought that I had, kind of like Clarence's positivity and niceness and brazenness is a theoretically speaking that I have over here, that you die, and if you die and become a ghost, which I've actually assumed that all people in this warrior kingdom, because they actually had crystals growing out of as their tombstones, that all of the warriors of this warrior kingdom, whatever it's called, are ghosts until they figure out how they were murdered. And that's why crystals are growing on the battlefield for those that died in battle. That's why Ghost P's grave is a crystal with her crown in the middle. And Clarence's is in the ne'er-dweller's graveyard, because he didn't die on the battlefield. That's one theoretically speaking I had. Okay. The second one, as it pertains to his character, is that you actually flip-flop your personality in death. So Ghost Princess was, Warrior Princess was brazen, bold, loving, adventurous, all that kind of stuff when she died. And Ghost Princess in the afterlife is shy, timid, soft-spoken, insecure, from what she kind of comes off as. And Clarence dies insecure, sad, lonely. And in the afterlife, he's all like Mr. Smooth, brazen, bold, confident, obviously helping, even the ne'er-do-wellers, so that I don't know, it would make it harder to figure out how you died if you totally forgot who you were and even behaved opposite of who you were in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I like that second one a lot. I think that's a pretty cool theory. They're certainly, they have no memory of their mortal life, sort of. It's like it can be invoked. There's a way to kind of get to that. It's like within them, all the memories are. You just got to get to them. But Clarence, man, he's my lovely of this episode. Some Donkus.
Nice. Donkus.
He's, again, like I was saying, he's so smooth, man. Like, in regards to how he died, they're at the Spirit Waves concert, and it's just like, of course not. And we might never, of course not. We might never find out, but that's okay, because right now in this moment, I'm feeling pretty sweetles, like that. And then I've got a couple other favorites written down. I couldn't imagine anyone who would harm someone as beautiful as this. And then he says, more beautiful than I could imagine, in regards not to Spirit Waves, as the princess thinks that he's talking about. And then finally, our spirits must be entwined in the cosmic wheel of time.
Yeah,
he is such a smooth
I
individual.
liked the cosmic wheel of time line for sure.
Yeah, he's good. He's good, man. But so, since we're talking about theoretically speaking, so let me go ahead and get into mine.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So, in my thoughts, I don't really think it's been that long since like Ghost Princess has died, or even since Clarence has died. Obviously, we saw Jake, but I don't think ghosts haunt the mortal plane for very long. Ghost Princess is said to have been there for longer than almost everybody in the graveyard by Boyleby. But she never met Clarence's ghost before, which is kind of odd. It's so close. They're in the same graveyard. And we know Clarence and Jake had met each other as living beings in the memory of Clarence's death by the softy cheese. So in my mind, I don't think it's really been all that long since either one of them have died.
I don't think so. I think the telling is that Jake is a full adult and has saw Clarence die.
It just seems to me like maybe this is like an intermediate phase before you, like you said, or like we were talked about, before you go to the 50th Dead World. But it's not one that's meant to last forever. It's one that's meant to kind of be temporary before you move on. Now, why the friends of, not PB, from Heat Signature.
Yeah, those ghosts. The ghost friends. Oh gosh, they had
Marcy's ghosts.
Yeah, they had names. I can't remember them.
Why they are still there? Why they're still ghosts? Who knows? I think you had mentioned maybe it was because they were. I don't know. I don't remember.
No, I definitely I see what you're saying too. But because Boyleby is in, like, when Finn like bangs on the grave to get him out, that ghosts probably have a choice of whether or not they want to, scour the world and figure out how they died. And if they get exhausted and, kind of like Ghost Princess says, it's tormenting being in this like kind of floaty nowhere space, that they can choose to just like chill in their graves if they want, and they like kind of give up and just be like, I'm tired of
I'm just going to be
searching
ghost
for the answers. I'm just going to be a ghost. So maybe that's Marcy's ghost.
Oh, that's interesting. I could
figured out how to have fun with it and suck people's guts out of their butts,
Yeah. And that almost happens with Ghost Princess. She kind of accepts it. She's like, well, she falls back in love with Clarence, and is okay with becoming or staying a ghost for the rest of her life.
Yeah, well, he's definitely got the best hookup like house. He's got a whole mausoleum to himself, and which is funny that I guess he never goes back to his grave anyway. If he's got his own mausoleum, but that's not his grave,
Yeah, he certainly was like you're saying, the confident ghost who's just going out and enjoying the world and be like, well, I can't be dead, or I can't be in heaven, but at least I can enjoy my time as a ghost.
Yeah,
made the best of
it. Exactly. No, I think Clarence was on my potential lovelies list here.
Really?
But it came in with a last minute surprise lovely here. Oh. The host of Spirit Waves.
Really?
First of all,
why?
he's got this hilarious design with like long, lanky legs and like a super short, only head torso.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
why he won the lovely of this episode is the fact of me just thinking that there is a center for ghost community outreach out there, and that this guy is all about it. He is just at that center doing ghost community outreach all the time.
GhostStates.com.
And that he has a side hustle. He has a side hustle. I only am assuming this, obviously.
Some sort of an advertising.
I think he's plugging his own website into
you think so? Okay.
Into the performance. Because I just picture like a Parks and Rec, like Tom from Parks and Rec, where he's always like plugging his businesses into the community events. That this guy was like totally doing the same. And I was like, yep, that's my backstory for him. And he's my lovely.
I think he might secretly be a bad guy. He's the one who's down there like forcing everybody like, it's okay, be a ghost. Don't move on to the afterlife. Like you're good. Stay on this mortal plane.
Maybe. Well, I mean, at least he's
lovely might be
getting
evil.
those ghosts that have given up a chance to enjoy their ghost community instead of just laying around.
That's fair.
Maybe I see what you mean though, being like, no, like sit where you are. So maybe some hidden bad intentions there potentially.
Did you go check out GhostStates.com?
I did check out GhostStates.com. Guys, pause the podcast right now. Pull up GhostStates.com because it is just a GIF of the spirit waves dancing on a website page, and somebody owns that right now, and I think it is incredible.
It's pretty great.
It is pretty great.
Man, Allie tried to call me out and be like, they're going to be your sexy character, aren't they? The spirit waves. And I was like, no, of course not. Warrior Princess is my sexy character.
Yeah. I was about to say, as soon as you got the real life look at her before she got stabbed, I was like, that's going to be Russell's love or a sexy character.
Of course. And it's kind of a neat story. Like they both love each other, but she's fighting, and he is too, for her and his kingdom. But then it's that like star-crossed lovers thing, and they embrace, and she doesn't try to kill him, and he kind of doesn't hesitate as she does and stabs straight through her. Yeah.
No, I think it's a great love story. It's a great episode overall. I've got lots more to say about it. I'm about to dive in, and if we get started, we're not going to end up with time to take a quick breather because it's going to be like 40 minutes before we're like, oh shoot.
Yeah, let's take a minute.
So much.
This episode was brought to you by Cheesy Poofs. The cheesy treat, you just can't beat that puff stuff. Gotta feel your gut and start the fart and bust your donkus, you silly dongus. Now available as Cheesy Poofs Softies.
Welcome back from the very quick break there.
Oh,
and it was a good one. A little cheesy. And I'm actually glad your cheesy puff ad that you did made me think about something.
What did you think about?
Well, no, we'll dive into that a little later. I'll get to it.
Okay.
I did want to hit you with something I found that was really cool about this episode. I did mention that there is some canon now about Warrior Princess and Clarence being in the 50th Dead World. But before Distant Lands was released, there was a non-canon Adventure Time comic book series where they kind of follow Clarence and Ghost Princess into the afterlife. Clarence actually abandons Ghost Princess for a bunch of other hot ghosts proves that he was an actual Sumdonkus. And that Ghost Princess actually revives herself into the real world and becomes like a ghost hunter. And like partners up with Cherry Chris and Harry Chris, who I'm not quite sure who those people are, to create the Ghost Destroyers, a team of ghost hunters.
Well, we know they're not vampires because vampires cannot defeat ghosts.
Yes,
kind of
they
like rock,
can.
paper, scissors.
Yeah, I guess. And then we'll figure out I guess heat signature is what beats ghost.
Yeah, I can't remember what we said in that episode. What beats ghosts?
I guess it's Ghost Destroyers now, but
well, that's awesome. I kind of love that.
Yeah, I was a little bummed that that's actually not canon though, because that's kind of a really cool, like full circle story there.
Yeah, that is. Well, I was so curious because in my mind, like the ne'er-do-well ghost, like what do you do? How do you take on a ghost when you're in a situation like that? what is your plan of action? Because as we learned again in Heat Signature, that vampires can't be ghosts. When was it Finn tried to do a vampire kick or something, or
and goes like right. Yeah, they kind of have that choice of whether that like they can choose when you phase through them or when they phase through you, and when they can actually like suck your brain out.
See, that's wild, man. So I asked a couple on Instagram, Never Ending Adventure cast or podcast on Instagram. I asked our followers just for a few answers of kind of like what they thought would be like the scariest or creepiest beings to come across in the Ooh verse. And a couple, just the three answers that off the top of my head, we got the Magic Man. So the one that turned Jake into a foot. I guess his name is just Magic Man, right?
Yeah, it's just Matt. Yeah, we'll get more Magic Man later for sure.
Magic Man. Prismo, which we haven't met yet, but I've seen. Yeah.
But Prismo's so good, though. But yeah, Prismo could for sure beat Ghost. He's just not scary.
Then besides the deer, which the deer's got to be up there, but I thought the deer was kind of awesome.
Top 3 Adventure Time villains, I think, in terms of just like horrifying.
It's a shame he doesn't really. I mean, he comes back as we talked about in that episode, but not like in a major way. Yeah. And besides other obvious answers, the Temple of Egress. And then this person said that they can't wait till we get there.
Yeah. Ooh, I mean, that's a good kind of deep episode. Like a very, like some comedic humor, but not like a ton. So when it gets good, it gets real good.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about that.
But
do you have a creature from Ooh that you're most terrified? I think ghosts are probably it for me.
Oh man, I'm trying to think about some of like, I hate the Worm King. I think the Worm King is just creepy as hell, and we'll get there. But like, dude,
is that the one from the end of the episode that was like, "Yes, come here"?
Yeah, it's that one, and it pops up one more time. It's gonna open up 1,000 theoretically speakings for you when he comes back.
Okay,
but I hate the Worm King, and it's that would be way more of my nightmare than fighting a ghost. Weird. But I had some things about this episode that I did love. And it's kind of like we've gotten this maybe out of season 3 a little bit, but it's more about the intentionality of the writing and the art in this episode. Because there is, first of all, the concept of like the full circleness that they start with, like, okay, cool, Jake hates cheese dogs. Like, why is that a big deal? And they full circle it all the way back to the beginning. I think that's just a really clever way of writing. It just reminds me pretty much like Arrested Development's like the master writing of that show of going crazy storylines and then coming back to the beginning. And it just like kind of answers all the questions. But with continuity in that, like you have to have continuity to do a full episode that's full circle. But if you look, there's like a really cool, almost like Easter eggy style that when like Finn's shaking just like the bones of a ghost he thought was dead, and it does turn out to be Clarence's grave, that I had to go back and watch. You see that there's no rib cage on the skeleton, i.e. when you see Clarence dead in the Squeezy Mart, that the cheese burst out of his chest. So that's why he has no ribs. That when Jake picks up the skeleton hand and takes the little ring and puts it in his like fold pocket, that is the arm of Clarence. And I think it was holding on to the ring that he was going to propose to Warrior Princess with.
Oh, man.
I was like a deep find. I was like, oh my gosh, I think that is meant for Ghost or Warrior Princess. And then what you mentioned, what I said, the cheesy poofs that he's eating, it is a reference to him liking cheese a lot, i.e. his death by cheese. So really cool. I think just like they really intentionally thought about this episode in hiding little things that would like lead you to believe Clarence was that some donkus,
Well, I really like this episode. I really don't have many complaints at all about the writing for this episode. I think it was a fantastic cartoon episode. I mean, like, in my opinion, just from what we've seen of Adventure Time, it's already topping a lot of what I've seen on Cartoon Network. I'm super impressed with this show already. But my one complaint from this episode, and it's such a minor one, it's Jake at the beginning when Ghost Princess comes in and she says she's doomed to haunt this mortal plane. And Jake kind of out of nowhere is just like, let's hear more about that, honey. It just feels a little too it's just like, oh, that sounds like a plot. Let's do that. What's going on with you? You know? Like, I don't know. It was a little much for me.
The fact you mentioned that Jake in this episode is my tops.
Okay. Wow.
I think it's his, like, he kind of is acting like stoned the whole time. And he's like super calm and dismissive the whole time. When she's like, I'm haunting you, he's like, oh, that's cool. When Clarence is professing his love for Ghost Princess, Jake looks at him and just like thumbs up and goes, nice.
Yeah.
And
he does seem kind of stoned. At
the end, in the same inflection that he also did it when they were when it was the hunting for apples episode. What is it? Apple Thief.
Yeah.
When he said, I didn't know it was wrong. It was like the same inflection.
Did it again. Yep. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah,
it was wrong. It's like the perfect excuse for Jake. He just loves that, huh?
Now, do you really think with Jake in that instance that he actually didn't know it was wrong and he's learning this? It does seem off that he like hangs out with Finn, who's like Mr. Good and Mr. Righteous.
Yeah.
That he would not know these things. But then I was going to ask you, like, I guess is grave robbing like a moral gray area for people?
I was going to say, to be fair, my biggest issue is the digging up the princess. That I think that was what was messed up. Like, I don't know what, I don't know. I don't know what the moral gray area is there to answer your question, but I just think it's just weird and also creepy to disturb a grave. And I wouldn't want to be the one to do it. And Finn as the hero does it, to solve the mystery. Certainly he finds the rents to finish the clearance on the knife, the rents part of the knife. But I don't know, man. I don't really love grave robbers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't saying it is a moral gray area for me. I was saying, is that a moral gray area?
Oh, I know you've been doing
people?
It. I know you do it on the weekends.
How do you think I've just been making all this bank, man?
Yeah, dude. No wonder you were able to afford a house in Atlanta. Good grief. In this economy?
Hey, there's the economy. You got to go back to the dead people. No, I do know. I mean, I would say and it's happened before, I'm pretty sure, when, like, in terms of, like, solving crimes, they will investigate a body that has been buried. So I know that that's, like, in Finn's world, it doesn't really go into, like, anything immoral. But, like, I guess grave robberies, like, have happened throughout all history.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
And I'm sure it's not psychotic people that are doing it. I'm sure they're relatively, like, they definitely don't have a moral compass. Or,
I mean, if you're a pirate, it's just like part of the job description, right? Like,
yeah, I would assume so.
They just assume you've done it before. So I don't know. I couldn't imagine, man. I'd hope I never have to be in a situation where digging up a grave is the answer,
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then who knows? I'm hoping that Jake didn't dig up all that stuff, because it was like a soda can, a marble, a button, one diamond, but there was a skull. So I was like, hopefully he just picked that up around the graves and wasn't actually digging. So.
Truly, if either one of us end up having to dig up a grave eventually, we could honestly say that our lives are like a fart and mean it,
Yeah, if
I would feel
us,
that way.
If we resort to that, I don't think we'll be podcasting if we're resulting to that. So
it's funny that I will say Jake is great. This whole episode is so good, quote wise. There are so many like half of my notes are just quotes from this episode. But my life is like a fart is so funny that at the squeezy mart he says that, and Jake just is like, what? What'd you say?
He pokes his head over the counter.
He's like, I just got so intrigued. I mean, that is such an intriguing thing to say. My life is like a fart. And Jake he's like, all right, tell me more. Like, who's this guy? What's going on with this
I know,
dude?
Just it's so funny. They throw in at least 2 adultisms in here of let's go do private things in my private mausoleum. Yeah. Was definitely one to go over kids' heads. And then the fact that he's like straight up, it's mirroring like a drunk person being sloshed at a gas station. Like,
Oh yeah, he's
I was
wasted.
like, it's dark, man. It's actually like he's so drunk that he drinks himself to death. Like, that's kind of a very, when you dig into it, I'm not going to dig into it too deep.
Yeah.
I don't dig into graves, but it's a dark little theme at the end there.
It kind of is. And Jake has to face the trauma. Like, he's like, it's kind of interesting that his trauma of that situation is, I don't want to eat softy cheese, but really it should be so much more than that.
It should be more than that.
But I think because of all of the adventuring and all the death that's around him and Finn all the time, he's kind of numb to it. I have friends that work in the medical field, and they tell me these stories of things that they've seen and situations they've been in, and they're kind of numb to it. And I think it allows them to think level-headedly when one of those crazy situations appear. But for Jake, he had to have some sort of a not a solace, but a way to get past what he had seen. And that was like, I'm done with cheese. It was inside a dude,
like
and then it was all
like
over
a
me.
subconscious coping mechanism almost.
Yeah, but also like the most obvious one, like, why would you want to eat cheese after that happens?
After it exploded all over you. Yeah.
So is this Finn being a teenager, like drinking by the fire with his brother?
I didn't even think about that, but I guess so. Just getting some alcoholic hot dogs.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds fun.
I'll do some alcoholic hot dogs for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, no
man.
doubt. I'm about that life.
But yeah, I'd say overall, weirdly enough, I wasn't super pumped for this episode. I've watched it through several times, but it took me going through it twice, like picking up on the lines, digging in deep, and being like, wow, this was well written, well scripted, well animated. Like Hamburger Hills as a, I would assume it was, and again, I have 1,000 theoretically speakings now from this episode, which I love, but was Hamburger Hills Cemetery built around it? Because I think it was like all these warrior people that died in battle or whatever.
Yeah, maybe so. Or like people that had too many hamburgers, I'm guessing.
I guess so.
It's like a McDonald's.
Overconsumption is a commonality amongst these people.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just love the quotes in this episode. She describes the Hamburger Hills as the cradle of her despair, which is just it's so great. And I will say this, I learned that for my tombstone, when I pass, hopefully years and years and years from now, to maybe give hints of what I want on my tombstone, because hers just says female, and that sucks. That totally sucks,
Yeah. Again, that leads to my theoretically speaking of it appeared as a crystal where she died because she died in battle, but somebody came along, or it just said this was a female that died here.
Yeah. That's rough. And she had a crown on. Like I don't know, whatever.
Whatever. She did. Yeah, she had her ghost crown, and the crown was in the grave, but it was also in the crystal. So interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Some part of me wanted to dig even deeper and be like, was Sir Slicer and all of like the armor guys, were they part of this like warrior clan that has now disseminated and gone out into the grasslands?
Yeah, I guess I wasn't thinking about that because she's warrior princess, so presumably over other warriors versus just like this is her kingdom sort of a thing. So I wonder what Clarence was. I wish we had a little bit more clues to key into that. Like if Clarence was, I don't know, like gladiator king or something like that, or gladiator prince.
Well, it's cool to see his skeleton. The fact that he has broken off antlers, that's another part of my continuity, is that you think they're horns coming out, but it's actually Clarence's antlers off of that skeleton. So he definitely is in some sort of other realm of creatures that they were battling for some reason.
Dude, great character design.
Story.
Clarence is such a great looking character.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was going to ask, have you ever seen the music video for Sugar We're Going Down?
Oh gosh, it's been so long. I haven't seen that since like middle school, dude.
I know. Well, it makes
You're gonna have to remind me.
It makes me think that they did this character design off of that music video. Because one, he's got like a little hipster earring on, which just screams like pop punk, emo vibes. But in that video, the main character is this kid who has antlers who falls in love, and the dad doesn't approve. But he's wearing a like zip up puffy vest in the video, which is exactly what Clarence is wearing. So I was like, man, is this like a cool Fall Out Boy call out there, you know?
Oh, maybe so. That's kind of cool. You gotta, man. I wasn't big enough in the pop punk, so I'm glad one of us was to be able to.
I know. See that. Some people will kill me and be like, "Fall Out Boy, it's not pop punk. They just went full pop punk. They were pop punk. First couple albums.
But even in my opinion, I have a bad opinion on pop punk. I'm not the biggest fan. And Green Day is not pop punk in my opinion. So
Green Day was like the original pop punk. That's Green and Blink.
Blink-182, right? But I think, in my opinion, Green Day, especially early Green Day, is like California punk, right? That was kind of a genre. Like the Offspring were also
technically
kind of California punk.
I guess they're Canadian punk.
Who was
Green Day? Green Day's Canadian, yeah.
Oh well, they grew up in California.
Yeah, I think was this Billy Joe Armstrong is from Canada. So I maybe just Canadian influenced California punk.
Oh man, I'm gonna spend the next couple of minutes while we're on this podcast looking that up because I don't agree. There's no way.
No distraction. Well, bring it for next week. All
right, fine. We'll talk about it next week. We won't.
Well, I've got a question for you because we already talked about it. I had a Jake mistake again. That was the whole he should have known the difference between right and wrong. Did you have any other Jake mistakes?
No, not a chance, man.
Okay.
Great episode. No mistakes. The only mistake is being not being creative enough about how we're going to go about creating this plot.
Oh, so that's not his fault. He's the ex machina now. Like, how do we progress this plot? And Jake just goes, here's the perfect question to do it.
Well,
I
also,
definitely
Ned,
see that.
Just so you know, Billy Joe Armstrong went to Pinole Valley High School in California. So
wait, what?
Yeah, dude, get out of here with that. He's not Justin Bieber.
I could have sworn. I don't know. Maybe I'm probably getting something mixed up there. I don't know why I thought they were from Canada.
Dude, you're not a real Green Day head.
I'm really not.
Dookie head. You're not a real Dookie head.
I'm in the what I call post-hardcore pop punk, which is like everything like 2007 and on was my big stuff. So yeah, I missed like the very early days. I mean, I was in like second grade.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I got in the Green Day. I want to say like right when American Idiot came out. This is an Adventure Time podcast. We're so sorry, y'all. No tangents.
No tangents.
Now, do you have any lessons for me?
I've got 3 lessons, as I always do.
Okay.
First is use funny words. It makes for a better story and a better life. I think this show makes me do it, and I love it. I'm just like, why are you dingling my berries, man? Like, why are you chonking my bonk? Like, just do like whatever comes to mind. Just say it, as long as it's not derogatory. The second is, I think I want to die by an overconsumption of nacho cheese now. Like,
wow. That's the way to go, man. I don't know.
It's so bad for you, but I love cheese sauce, like chili cheese dogs, nachos. Like, it's great. And
when did you grow up out of the like spray can soft cheese phase of your life?
Weird squeezy cheese, like out of a can. I actually never even liked that as a kid.
Because that's got to be what this is, right? The soft cheese.
No, I think it's what Finn's using is like squeezy cheese. And then, they are at the Squeezy Mart, but it's coming out of a machine. So I just imagine think of like
what they have on their hot
cheese.
Dogs has got to be.
But like on a hot dog, it makes me think of like nacho cheese.
Okay.
Like out of the big industrial sized can of nacho cheese.
Well, when did you get out of your soft cheese life, not including nacho cheese, just the spray can cheese?
God, so just in general, like cheesy sauce stuff.
Well, did you ever buy that? Did your mom ever buy the softy cheese?
She did not buy softy cheese, weirdly enough. No.
Yeah.
I would say.
My friend did, but not mine.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had any dairy, maybe except for like butter that I used to cook. I haven't had dairy in like 72 days. So.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't imagine as an adult you're still buying canned cheese. I would hope not.
I don't know how they're marketing that stuff. I don't know who's like just
Someone's out there
constantly
buying
buying
it.
cheesy spray.
Yeah.
And cheese is so accessible. You can do so many other things. Like you can
Someone
literally
knows.
just get cheddar cheese crack. You could go get Lunchables, for God's sake. Like do that instead.
I need to start buying brie, man. Brie's like the best cheese in my opinion, and I never buy it. I don't know
Really,
why.
I love a good, like, it's got to have stuff in it. It's got to be. It is kind of like that cheesy sauce. Once you like melt it, put a little honey on it, do it with cracker, do it with a nice like off dry Riesling or something like that.
Yeah.
My third lesson, because we don't tangent about cheese. I don't know. Actually, you know what? Now I want to tangent more and say, when was the last time you bought squeezy cheese? Because you had so many questions about it.
Never in my life. And
okay, I didn't know
proof.
if you had questions because you were receipts. Like sneakily hiding squeezy cheese in your kitchen.
Hell no, dude. I buy Cheez-Its. I'll tell you that much. I buy Cheez-Its all the damn time.
That's the jam.
I learned that there is no such thing. There is a such thing as too much soft cheese. There's a way. There's a limit.
There is a limit. It's typically when your ribs burst out of your chest.
Oh, there's a limit before that. You know, when the guy who's selling you the cheese is just like, dude, I don't know, man. Like you should go home.
That's the indicator.
That's the indicator that like you've had too much softy cheese.
Yeah, when you get cut off.
Waiter. It reminds me of the SpongeBob movie.
Wait, which? I'm trying
when
to
they're getting drunk on the Sundays.
On the Sundays. Yeah. When they get cut off.
Waiter.
Oh, that's I forgot. I haven't watched SpongeBob. Maybe we do a special on SpongeBob movie.
Yeah, I think we do for a special that no one will listen to.
Yeah, special. Hey, at least it's SpongeBob movie. It fits into the world of like Scooby-Doo did, but definitely fits into like this generation, like that same Adventure Time generation fan base. So maybe
I would totally be down for an episode on that. Maybe at the end of season 3 we do.
Oh yeah, I think it's a good idea. Last lesson, and then we'll get to yours, is just find your cosmic entwined person. Like life won't be so tormenting, you know? Yeah. And I agree with that. Like literally,
I like that.
I love the fact that they are tormented in this afterlife, but they find somebody that makes it not so tormenting. And I don't know. I thought that was a great message in this episode.
Yeah, that is a good message, man.
What about you? What's your lessons?
That's my only lesson is that there's a such thing as too much softy cheese.
When you get cut off from the cheese sauce, that is too much damn cheese.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing I learned is like, if you ever find yourself in the world of ooh and like you're trying to move on to the afterlife or whatever, you want some sort of religion, like just be a good person. It's all works based, like everything. It all just depends on what you do. So that's the way they go if you're in ooh. But that's not really a lesson that's applicable to myself other than hold off on the cheese. Well,
aside from lessons, I want to hear your recs this week.
Oh man, my rec is, again, we're in the most thankful time of the year. We're in November, and my recommendation to everybody is just go out there, tell somebody you're thankful with no context. Just tell them that you're thankful for them.
Nice. I like that, man.
Don't give them a reason. Just be like, no, man, I'm thankful for you.
Nice. I love that. That's like the opposite of my recommendation. So I feel bad now.
Well, you should.
Did that happen to you like recently? Did somebody do it for you or?
No, I'm just being thankful.
Nice. Is this because we're about to cross?
It's November. It's the most thankful time of the year.
Yeah, we're about to cross into the Thanksgiving season threshold.
Oh, we're there. Most people are obsessed with like October and Halloween, and that starts in September for some people. Some people are skipping Thanksgiving. This is my issue.
That's bullshit for sure.
I get pissed about people skipping Thanksgiving because it is one of my favorite holidays.
Yeah,
because it's just you just such a thankful time of the year. You know, I don't really have a good reason for it, but it's just fun to be thankful.
It's a great week. The whole weekend I feel like of Thanksgiving is great. Like,
oh yeah, family,
you did the big meal,
food.
It kicks it off. The next day is usually spent with like the remainder of the family, like walking off your food hangover. Yeah. And then the whole weekend following, first of all, Georgia game, which is great.
Oh, so great.
And it's the kickoff to kind of the Christmas season. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
It's still the Thanksgiving season, but everybody just kind of gets a little bit of that first sprinkle of Christmas spirit. And like, I think that it makes Thanksgiving exciting, but not doing it prior, not being like, I put out my Christmas tree on November 1st.
Yeah, I'm not about it. It became a point of contention with an old roommate of mine, she whose name shall not be spoken. And you know, I wasn't really mad about it, but it just, I shouldn't have said anything even as a joke. Let's just say that.
That's like the most roommate argument I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah. Some people just really love Christmas, and I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. But you want to soak up fall as a season. And fall
totally, man.
In Georgia, Tennessee, it kind of fall ends in like December, technically. Yeah. And I think fall kind of ends in mid-January in Atlanta. So soak up the fall, you know.
What's your rec, man?
My rec, weirdly, I've got a anti-rec, which leads to my rec. My anti-rec is the new Hellraiser movie on Hulu. Wow. I'm all for a good scary movie. I'm all for a good gory movie. And the new Hellraiser was like pretty disgusting. Like it takes a lot for me to like actually need to look away from a screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, if that's your thing, go watch it. But like, I'm a fan of all the Saw movies, and like that, it even was a little too much. So why that leads into my rec is because I was like, I need something to clean my eyes out. And so we've been on another kick of trashy TV this week, trashy reality TV. So we are watching another season of Are You the One on Netflix. Nice. So that's my rec.
Wow. Have you seen all of Love Island? If you haven't seen Love Island UK, you should do that.
Is that one on Netflix too?
Oh, dude. Yeah. The UK, actually, no, it's on Hulu. But the UK first 2 or 3 seasons of Love Island are trashy and wild. It's like, it's UK TV, you know, and it's also before just like it was popular.
The limits, yeah.
Oh, it's past the limit. It's like, it's before the show is popular in the UK, I think. And so no one was like, there wasn't like you can get famous from this show. And so people are just like being crazy. It's
doing whatever. And most of these like direct to stream things, like, there's like Netflix won't put like nudity in shows or whatever, but like they can pretty much push it past like cable TV restrictions. So,
especially the British,
apparently. who have we won't rip on the British. Sorry guys. Sorry over there.
I got nothing against them.
Across the pond, if anybody's listening in the UK.
That's offensive.
Get out of here. I'm sure they make fun of my accent all the time too.
All right, let's end this podcast. This has gone too far.
Let's send it home. Where can all of our lovely travelers follow us?
Yeah, I love even the lovely had a little bit of a British.
I love where can all our lovely travelers follow us, bruv.
Yeah, so y'all can check us out at Never Ending Adventure Podcast. Unless you're British, then I understand if you won't. TikTok at Never Ending Adventure Cast.
At least three listeners.
Yeah, Twitter at NEA_podcast. Email us your thoughts, your opinions to the Travelers Log at NEA.travelerslog@gmail.com. Thank you so much. I love you, especially if you're British. Love the Beatles. They're one of my favorite bands. Zeppelin's amazing as well. And yeah, I love you more than Ned does. And party forever.
Oh, I love you guys. Every one of you. I promise.